Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, let's talk about something we often overlook: the suffering we experience in relationships. Most of the time, these pains are not caused by others, but by ourselves. A well-known psychologist once said, "Each of us unconsciously teaches others how to treat us. Some people teach others how to respect them, some teach others how to love them, and some, unfortunately, teach others how to hurt them." In any relationship, your attitude will shape the other person's attitude toward you. The more you lower yourself, the more the other person will take advantage of you. The more you tolerate, the more they will push boundaries. As you grow older, you begin to realize that every unhealthy relationship you've experienced was something you allowed. The truth is, much of the suffering you endure in relationships comes from yourself. When you depend on others, you set yourself up for disappointment. Many people enter friendships with hidden motives. They see friends as a timely rain, a helping hand during tough times, or even a ladder to boost their career. But such friendships are fragile, because those who rely on others too much eventually wear them out. There's a story about the wife of Wang Zhidong, the founder of UC. While studying for her MBA, she had a female classmate who was passionate about networking. Every week, this classmate spent her time socializing, attending parties, eating out, all in hopes of building connections to rely on later. While others were studying, reading, and preparing for their future, she was busy chasing relationships. But when graduation came, and she desperately needed her friend's help to complete her thesis, the very people she counted on were suddenly too busy. Some even avoided her altogether. In the end, she had to postpone her graduation for a whole year, wasting time and money. Someone once sighed and said, "There's nothing worse than relying too much on others, because everyone has their own struggles. And if you lean on them too much, disappointment is inevitable." When you expect others to help you, you may realize that in their hearts, you don't matter as much as you thought. Even the deepest friendship can end in heartbreak if you build your life entirely on someone else's support. The truth is, no one has the duty to fully protect you. Life itself can wear you down, but the only thing you can truly rely on is yourself. Your greatest asset is not your relationships, it is your own abilities and character. Only by constantly improving yourself can you face life's challenges with calm and confidence. Take an example. When you fail an exam, instead of blaming others for not helping, ask yourself, did I study hard enough? Did I use the right methods? Once you pinpoint the real issue, you can find the solution and rise stronger in the next attempt. Or when you fail in your job search, instead of cursing fate, analyze your strengths and weaknesses. What experiences can you highlight? What skills do you still need to improve? Only through self-refinement can you stand out in fierce competition and eventually land your dream job. Shakespeare once wrote in Hamlet, "To be or not to be, that is the question." In life, we cannot control the outside world, but we can control our inner world. Don't passively wait for others' favors. Instead, train yourself to be the best version you can be. Only with true ability can you stand tall and shine on the stage of life, writing your own brilliant story. Of course, this doesn't mean you should shut yourself off or refuse help from others. When necessary, it's okay to open your heart and ask for support. But before you do, pause and ask yourself, have I done my best, or am I simply burdening others? In the end, the key is balance. Learn to grow strong on your own while still knowing how to connect with others meaningfully. That's the way to live with dignity, confidence, and peace. Helping others when it's within your ability is a noble trait, but demanding too much from people becomes a burden. Only when you learn independence do you truly deserve the support of others. And only when you understand gratitude can relationships remain lasting. The poet Tagore once said, "A palm turned downward means you are giving help. A palm turned upward means you are asking for help. Whether you help or ask for help, neither is shameful." What is shameful is neglecting to improve yourself and relying entirely on others. In the journey of life, learn to be resilient, become your own solid foundation. Don't put all your hopes on others. Instead, discover your inner strength. Keep striving, keep improving, and at the same time, appreciate the help you receive. Use sincerity to warm the people around you. Only then can we build strong, beautiful relationships and walk through life with confidence and grace. The wounds we carry will eventually turn into medals, marks of strength that help us move forward. As long as we keep our faith and continue walking toward the future, there is no hardship we cannot overcome. Together, let us march forward, become stronger, and write the most brilliant chapters of our lives while pursuing our dreams. Now, Let's move on to another truth. When you try to change others, the one who gets hurt is you. I once read a story about Yang Zheng and her family. Yang Zheng loved neatness. She would always fold towels perfectly without a single wrinkle. But her husband, Chen Zhongshu, and their son never cared. In fact, they would deliberately resist her standards by leaving things messy. No matter how many times she reminded them, they would promise with their lips, but the next day it was the same. Later, when she and her husband moved to live in their son's dormitory, she noticed the room was messy and the towels were hanging crooked. Her son exclaimed, "Oh no, I've been exposed." But this time, Yang Jiang said nothing. She simply tidied up quietly, folding the towels neatly, edge to edge, corner to corner. She had come to understand, forcing others to change not only fails, but also creates frustration for yourself. By accepting others' differences, she brought more peace and comfort into her relationships. A psychology professor at Yale once discovered a fascinating principle. It takes 90 days to form a habit, 6 months to shape a mindset, and 10 years to stabilize a personality. So, when you try to change someone, you are not just challenging a small behavior, you are, in fact, rejecting their worldview and identity. That process is bound to be painful and exhausting. The psychologist Carl once advised his students, never attempt to change others. Not every fish lives in the same ocean. Each person has their own way of living. Forcing your advice onto someone else will not only fail, but may bring unnecessary conflict into your own life. The only way to maintain harmony is to let go of the idea of reshaping others. Allow them to live their way. With tolerance and by seeking common ground, we create relationships that are easier, warmer, and more harmonious. This reminds me of another story. A friend of mine struggled with her son, who had a strong, rebellious spirit. He refused to wear the clothes his mother carefully chose. Instead, he preferred to style himself in his own way. He loved pop music, but had no interest in classical music, which his parents adored. Faced with these differences, the mother worried and tried to mold him into her ideal image. But this only brought tension and conflict. The boy didn't understand his mother's good intentions, and the mother felt hurt by his resistance. This story teaches us a profound lesson. Trying to change someone, even out of love, often backfires. The key to harmony lies in acceptance, understanding, and guiding gently without imposing. So, my friends, remember this. In life, rely on your own strength. Be grateful for support, and let others live their way. Only then can you build relationships that uplift you, not drain you. There was a time when a mother I know struggled deeply with her son. The gap between them grew silently, because she always tried to mold him into her idea of the perfect child. She wanted him to wear the clothes she chose, listen to the music she liked, and follow the path she believed was right. But the more she tried, the more he resisted. One day, she suddenly let go of that idea. She realized that her son was an independent person, with the right to grow in his own way. As a mother, she had to learn how to release her grip, giving him the space to explore life freely. And something remarkable happened. Once she shifted her approach, their relationship transformed. Respect replaced conflict. The boy became more open, more willing to listen to her advice, because he no longer felt controlled. As the writer Nietzsche once said, "Some people are born to be themselves. Each of us carries unique qualities and characteristics. We cannot impose our own standards onto others, nor can we forcefully change their lives. Trying to do so only leads both sides into a useless struggle." True harmony comes only through understanding, tolerance, and mutual respect. Of course, acceptance doesn't mean ignoring others' flaws. We can still gently remind, guide, and encourage improvement. But that must come from respect, not control. Only when people feel loved, not dominated, will they naturally want to change for the better. As the novel The Little Prince once said, if you want to tame someone, you must accept the risk of tears. In the land of love, change often happens quietly, almost invisibly. When someone truly feels warmth and acceptance, they naturally grow closer to the expectations of those who love them. So, instead of wasting energy trying to control or tame others, focus on improving yourself. Appreciate life's diversity. Water your relationships with genuine love. Then, life becomes richer, and relationships more fulfilling. Tagore once wrote, "Live like the summer flowers, brilliant and radiant. Die like the autumn leaves, peaceful and quiet." Yes, let us live fully, with the colors of the soul, instead of being trapped by the expectations others place upon us. And this brings me to the third lesson. Trying too hard to please others will only end up hurting yourself. In the book Stop Trying to Please Everyone, it is said, When you bend over backwards to please others, you diminish yourself. When you chase excellence only to satisfy others, you suffocate. Every unequal relationship works this way. Constantly pleasing others without boundaries will not bring you smiles. It will only increase the chances of being disrespected. The more you lower yourself, the more you invite mistreatment. Let me share a painful story. A close friend of mine lived her whole life trying to please her parents. Her mother regretted not becoming a doctor, so to fulfill her mother's dream, she forced herself to study subjects she hated. Her father wanted her to have many friends, so she pretended to be social, creating the illusion of belonging. But in reality, she struggled daily with math and physics subjects she had no talent for, and endured bullying and isolation at school. Her mother controlled every hour of her time, not allowing her to do anything beyond studying. Her father constantly pressured her about friendships, binding her with endless advice and comparisons. But this was not the life she wanted. Eventually, crushed by the weight of expectations and unable to endure any longer, she ended her life one dark night by jumping into a lake. This tragedy echoes the truth. Life is only a few decades long. The most important thing is not to live for others, but to live for yourself. In any relationship, if you love someone by standing on tiptoes, you will eventually be despised. If you bow too low, you will only face exploitation and pain. The people-pleaser personality often begins in childhood. Those who grow up under harsh criticism crave approval. As adults, their sense of self-worth depends entirely on how others evaluate them. They fear rejection. They fear being disliked. And so, to maintain a fragile self-esteem, they endlessly try to satisfy others. But this is a game designed for failure. Because no matter how hard you try, you cannot please everyone. The more you chase external validation, the more you lose yourself. So, remember this. Do not shrink yourself to fit into someone else's world. Build your own world with strength and authenticity. Please yourself first, because only then can you truly bring joy, respect, and love into your relationships. You see, pleasing others beyond a reasonable level will only make them look down on you. The more you give, the less they appreciate it. Over time, the position of the people pleaser in any relationship keeps sinking lower and lower, leaving behind nothing but pain. So, what's the real solution here? It's about rebuilding your self-awareness. People with a pleasing personality need to learn how to accept their true selves instead of constantly living under the judgment of others. Only when you affirm your own worth can you treat others equally and gain the respect you truly deserve. As the philosopher Kierkegaard once said, if one does not become oneself, how can one become a person at all? Those who live only to please others must learn to value their own needs, to speak their real thoughts, and to understand, we don't live just to satisfy others. A moderate willingness to give is love, but pleasing excessively is a form of self-humiliation. Only when you love and respect yourself first will you be worthy of receiving love and respect from others. Of course, breaking free from the habit of pleasing doesn't happen overnight. It requires constant self-awareness. Each time you realize you are trying to please someone against your will, stop, pause, and turn inward. Learn to set boundaries. Learn to say no to unreasonable demands. In the short term, this might upset some people, but in the long run, it will help you build healthier, more balanced relationships. If you've ever been hurt by this before, then from now on, try living a little colder. Don't bend your back. Don't silently endure without resistance. Don't lower yourself in relationships that should be equal. That's how you'll meet the better version of yourself. As Ernest Hemingway once wrote, man is not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated. Life may weigh down our shoulders, but our hearts can always face the Sunday when you stop living under others' control. When you stop living for others, you will finally embrace life with dignity and without shame. Now, let's talk about tolerance. In psychology, there's a concept called the bowing effect. It refers to this. If you're bullied but don't resist, the second and third times you get hurt, you'll likely choose silence again. And gradually, you become the permanent victim in that relationship. The writer Xin Xia once shared her own story. She and her husband had planned a long-awaited trip to Hong Kong, but once people around her heard about it, they started asking her to buy things for them. Though she disliked it, she reluctantly agreed, afraid of offending them. One close colleague even asked her to bring back 4 large tins of imported baby formula. At first, Xinxia wanted to refuse, but her friend spoke so sweetly she gave in. When she arrived in Hong Kong, instead of sightseeing, she and her husband spent the day running around the city, hauling heavy shopping bags. Their plans were ruined. and the joy was gone. Later, when she gave the baby formula to her colleague, the colleague didn't even say thank you. Instead, she complained that the price was too high. In that moment, Xinsha felt tears welling up inside her, tears she had to swallow. She no longer wanted to maintain that relationship, and the two eventually drifted apart. A psychologist once said, "Between people, there often exists a process of swallowing each other whole. If your personality isn't strong enough, you will be devoured. That's human nature. People fear the strong and look down on the weak. If you don't show strength, others assume they can exploit you without consequence. The truth is, the more you tolerate, the less respect you get. The lower you bow, the more they trample on you. In any relationship, the role you play is ultimately your own choice. Sometimes you need to show your claws. Sometimes you need to flip the table. Only then can you protect yourself. Remember this, patience isn't always a virtue. There's a saying, good people often get no reward. Excessive tolerance only emboldens others. They see your kindness as weakness, and your sacrifice as their entitlement. And with time, your position keeps sinking until you're nothing but an easy target. Of course, relationships do require tolerance and forgiveness, but this must be mutual, built on equality and respect. One-sided compromise destroys balance and crushes your dignity. There's an old saying, forbearance for a moment, the storm subsides. Step back, and the sea and sky widen. But there are boundaries you must never cross. Otherwise, you are betraying yourself. Worse still, your over-tolerance not only harms you, it also harms others. Why? Because your silence enables bad behavior. It encourages the offender, making them bolder. Think about it. Tolerance and pain are siblings. The more you tolerate, the more you suffer. Let me give you an example from a drama. The main character grew up in a family where boys were valued over girls. Since childhood, she tolerated abuse from her younger brother. He hit her, insulted her, and she endured it all. She even went to prison for crimes he committed. But when she was released, her brother continued to exploit her without remorse. This is the bitter result of tolerance without resistance. So, my friends, let me leave you with this. Don't live just to please. Don't bow so low that your spine breaks. Don't let your kindness become your cage. Learn to stand tall. Learn to love yourself. Learn to say no. Because only then will others respect you. And only then will you finally live with dignity. There was once a woman who endured endless abuse from her younger brother. He bullied her, tormented her, and caused her countless wounds. Finally, she could no longer bear it. She picked up a gun and shot her own brother, the devil of her life, ending years of nightmare and suffering. Her tragedy teaches us this. A distorted relationship, if not ended in time, will only drag both parties deeper into the whirlpool of misery. Her silence and endurance enabled his cruelty, and in the end, it all led to an irreversible disaster. If she had dared to say no from the very beginning, maybe the tragedy would never have happened. Of course, learning to reject and resist doesn't mean using violence to respond. Psychologists recommend that when we face bullying, we should learn to use non-violent communication. First, make the other person aware that their behavior makes you uncomfortable. Then, clearly express your feelings and your needs. Finally, propose the changes you expect from them. This way of communication not only protects your rights, but also avoids unnecessary damage to the relationship. The truth is, endurance is always a double-edged sword. If it goes too far, it will only hurt yourself. We need to find balance between tolerance and firmness. Give others kindness, but also respect yourself. The philosopher Nietzsche once said, "I love those who do not need a reason to love themselves." Only when we truly love ourselves can we walk into relationships with our heads held high, neither arrogant nor bowing too low. This reminds me of the words of Lu Xun. The most frightening thing is not daring to admit the truth, blindly agreeing with the crowd, fearing the ridicule of others. But what is even more frightening is deceiving yourself. What does self-deception mean? It means knowing something is wrong but keeping silent. It means being hurt but choosing to endure. This kind of endurance makes us lose ourselves, lose our dignity. Instead of swallowing anger, we must dare to resist. Instead of deceiving ourselves, we must face the truth. Only by confronting the darkness of human nature and defending the values in our hearts can we live without shame. In complicated relationships, keep kindness in your heart, but stand firm in your principles. Be tolerant toward others, but also treat yourself well. When we learn to skillfully handle resentment and grudges, we will not betray our youth, nor betray ourselves. As writer Romain Rolland once said, there is only one true heroism in the world: to see life as it is, and yet still love it. The cowardice of human nature is hiding behind illusions. What we need most is courage and determination to hold firm to the conscience in our hearts and to find balance between love and dignity. That is the first step toward becoming a true hero. So let us walk together using wisdom and courage to light the road ahead, letting our souls bloom like flowers, even in the mud. On the internet, there's a saying: any toxic relationship always contains a part of your own responsibility. Painful as it sounds, it exposes the reality of adult relationships. If you are always too soft-hearted, you give others reason to exploit you. If you keep compromising again and again, don't blame others for being confident enough to push you further. Communication between people should filter, not force. You should choose to walk away, not try to change someone against their will. Yet many of us fall into a vicious cycle, knowing their behavior hurts us, but still enduring it. Knowing a relationship is broken, but still refusing to let go. We think taking one step back will give us peace, but in the end, it only drives us to a dead end. Psychologists point out that the reason we keep compromising often lies in a deep sense of insecurity. Deep inside, we crave recognition. We try to win love by pleasing others, fearing that if we're not good enough, we'll be abandoned. But what we fail to understand is, true love is built on mutual respect, not on one-sided sacrifice. That's why, instead of sacrificing endlessly, learn to choose wisely. Instead of trying to change others, raise your own value. In relationships, learn to filter. Keep those who make you better, and decisively walk away from those who drag you down. Don't waste your time in meaningless connections. Don't cling to relationships that are already unbalanced. I hope you and I can both hold firm to the principles in our hearts, rise above the storms of life, and become the version of ourselves we've always longed to be.